Talk. Let's go. Good morning. What's up to you guys? Happy Sunday morning and welcome to another live edition of NFL Sunday Wake Up with me, your host, Ryan Flowers, aka Clutch Sports Talk. It's week 10, and as usual, we have tons to talk about. But before we do that, man, make sure you guys bundle up, strap in, get tight, get your drink, get your coffee, orange juice, whatever you got to do. I got to talk about the Ravens and Bengals game from Thursday night. What a thriller that was. And then the bad news about Dak's season-ending injury. It's going to put him on the bench for the rest of the season. I got to talk about that. Then we're going to jump into my power rankings for week 10, and then previews and predictions, and wrap up the show with my clutch picks of the week. So if you love football, I know some of you guys are up early right now watching Giants and Panthers. You are in the right spot. We're at halftime right now there. So come on through, pull up a seat, and let's get the show on the road. Good morning. Welcome on in, man. Happy Sunday morning to you guys. But before we move on, make sure if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, man. I'm continuing to continuously grow that particular YouTube channel as well. Check out the Grid Network as well. You get all the exclusive shows there, such as my NFL matchup show that airs on Tuesday nights now. I moved it from Wednesday to Tuesday nights, so you guys can check that out. It's available to you. So, okay. Let's jump right in here first. Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. That was a pretty good game. A couple things that I've noted from that game, and I'll start with the Ravens side of things. Number one, Ravens did start sluggish. Pretty much they slept walk the first three quarters up until the very end. The last quarter, something ignited and they just took off. Lamar Jackson was phenomenal down the stretch there. Definitely is the front runner for the MVP in my estimation. Now, I know last week I had some candidates, but this week, if I were to make a list, he would be atop of that list easily. At this point, the way he's been able to play. The defense is a little concerning for the Baltimore Ravens. I will say that as dynamic, as impactful as the offense is, the defense can be had. Obviously, they made the stops that they needed to make down the stretch, especially that two-point conversion. However, though, a lot of controversy in that two-point conversion. There was a couple holding plays on that particular play. The referees did not call. Probably could have changed the outcome. Maybe, Bengals would have gotten another opportunity at it. Who knows, right? But whatever the case may be, they got torched. Jamar Chase has their number. The guy had 11 catches, over 260-something yards, I believe 3 touchdowns. And that's just one matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. I forgot what he put up against them a few weeks ago at home in Cincinnati, where they lost them again. So if the Ravens are going to move or continually stay atop, be one of those contenders, they're going to have to figure out a way to shore up that defense. Now, they did have some bright spots. I believe one of their edge rushers, I forgot his name off the top of my head, Mama Duke or something like that. I believe he had like 3 sacks in timely sacks, right? Plays that they need to be made down the stretch. So now I know they did go out in the trade pool there, and I believe they traded for Tre'Davious White from the Rams. So I don't think he played at all Thursday. I don't remember seeing him, and if he did, that's not good either because they still got torched. But overall, it shows a lot of resiliency from the Baltimore Ravens to start off slow. First 3 quarters, man, and then to get it going in the last pretty much quarter, or say quarter and a half, right, from between the third and the fourth, shows a lot of resiliency on their end. So, shout out to them. Now, as far as the Bengals are concerned, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow played phenomenal. Joe Burrow showed that he is still a top quarterback in this league. And should be respected as one of the top quarterbacks in this league. And Jamar Chase, cemented himself as one of the top wide receivers again with the stellar performance now. But they fell short again. Why? Defense. And it's sad because the defense played pretty well the whole game. Again, until the fourth quarter or towards the end of that game, end of the third, and going into the fourth, they had pretty much bottled up Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and the rest of the supporting cast for the Baltimore Ravens. And then all of a sudden, the lid was released, and boom, before you know it, a 2-touchdown lead, you're tied up, right? And then now you're trailing at some point. So very, very disappointing for them. Now, what does that mean for them for their playoff implications? They're 4-6. It's still not impossible for them to make the playoffs, but it's more highly likely that they probably won't. This was a much needed game, a game that they probably should have won. It's especially for their own sense that, like, you know what, we can beat these guys. We can beat these guys, and they just couldn't get it done. And now the Bengals at 4-6 as they get ready for next week. So I mean, listen, I'm just looking at my notes here. I mean, they gave up 197 yards in just the fourth quarter in passing yards and 3 touchdowns in just the fourth quarter by itself. That's not going to get it done. So I don't know what you do now, you know, especially from an offensive standpoint. You're looking at yourself like, well, man, I felt like we did everything we needed to do. And they did from an offensive standpoint. I mean, when you got guys going over 200 something yards, receiving 3 touchdowns, you did your part, but the defense did not do their part in the end. And that's kind of just been the quandary for the Cincinnati Bengals this whole season. Is like they just can't put it all together. And if they want to make the playoffs, it's going to be tough. I will say that 4-6 right now. Their margin for error is literally slim to none. They cannot afford to lose another game. But overall, the thoughts on the game is a good game. It's a good Thursday night matchup for my estimation. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with them moving forward. All right. Let's talk about Dak Prescott. He is out, season-ending injury. He has a partially torn ligament in his hamstring area. Now, I believe he was supposed to go get a second opinion. I believe he got that second opinion, and I think they just said, you know what, it's not even worth it. Shut it down, and we'll see you next season. So that's where the Cowboys are at with him, which it's kind of laughable because they paid him a lot of money. The team is not doing well. Even with him, they're sitting at 3-5. And now, you know, their season outlook, for most Cowboys fans, it's over. Like me, I've been documented saying I'm not a fan. I'm a part-time fan. I'm still a fan of the team. I just was tired. I'm just tired of like celebrating for them, cheering for them. Excuse me, because I know what they're capable of, and when I say capable of, I know in a negative connotation, not a positive connotation. So this season was done before one snap was played for them this earlier in the season. So with Dak being out now, it's completely a wrap. Like Cooper Rush is not going to be a savior. Trey Lance is not going to come in and be this guy that just resurrects them. He's not going to have that run that Dak had when Tony Romo missed the beginning of the year, right? This team is not constructed well. So, and they got a big matchup today against Philadelphia, which they're going to probably lose that game. If Philadelphia does not beat the Cowboys today, I don't care if Philadelphia loses today and then wins their next 6 in a row. They're not a good football team, because if you cannot take advantage of the Cowboys today, you're not a really good team. So some delusional Cowboy fans out there are thinking, oh, you know, Cooper Rush can get it done. Look what he did for us a couple years ago when Dak missed about 2 or 3 games. It's not the same team. It's not. So, and that's no offense to Cooper Rush. I think he's a fine backup, but that's what he is. Now, I've read reports that they are not contemplating kind of changing up their playbook at all whatsoever, because Cooper Rush is going to get the start, which I get it. You know, he's probably capable. But there will be packages for Trey Lance, which I don't know how that's going to work out. You know, you look decent in the preseason, but preseason, you're playing against guys that were probably 1 foot out the door, having a job of working at UPS or FedEx, right? So, or Costco, whatever, right? So it's going to be different. You're going to be playing starters now. Like I said before, just a couple seconds ago, I do not think Trey Lance is the answer here. And if he is, great. And if he's not, we already knew that anyway. So I'm not surprised by this team whatsoever. You know, it's just a shame. This season is a waste of time. And if you're a Cowboys fan and you're looking at me and you're like, well, this guy's not a diehard. Well, you know, it's not about being a diehard. It's just being smart at this point. I refuse to go down this road from a monetary value, from a time standpoint. I've given a lot to this team. I haven't played one down for the Dallas Cowboys ever in my life, right? But you get tired of it. And the things that went on this season in the offseason, the things that were said by the management there, a la Jerry Jones, it really got me to a point where I just don't care about this club anymore like that. If they have success, great. I'll support that. But I've given them 30-something years. And now I'm not delusional anymore. I finally found the light, and hopefully some of you other guys who are Cowboy fans will find the light, because this team is not going anywhere anytime soon. They weren't going anywhere with Dak, and now that he's out, It is what it is. Now, the next question is, well, they have to start transitioning to what Dak will be like next season, right? You paid him a lot of money. He's out for the rest of the year. Trey Lance, I believe, is in his contract year. Now, let's just say Trey Lance does go off. Now, you have even more controversy and drama, which I think Jerry Jones would welcome that because that's what he likes. He's probably hoping Trey Lance could come in here and shake up the world. Because at some point, I believe Trey Lance will get the start job for this team. It's only a matter of time. We're halfway through the season now. Got about 7 games left for the year. I believe he's going to start at least 2 or 3 of those games at some point. Because why? Jerry Jones wants that. He wants to be talked about, right? We're still going to be talking about the Cowboys. They're irrelevant at this point, but here we are right now talking about them. Tomorrow morning, we will be talking about them. And when I say we, people like at ESPN, people at Fox Sports, anywhere that you get your football information from, someone's going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys, and that's just what it is. So what does it mean for their season with Dak being gone? It means nothing because the season was over anyway. So and that's just what it is. So, all right, we got a comment here from my guy, Ben. He says, I personally, he probably thinks that the Cowboys should tank, but they won't. They'll end up like 7-10 with the mediocre draft. Yeah, that's an excellent point. They should just tank, right? This is like a prime, there's all been a lot of rumors with Shador. Maybe to want the Cowboys get him. Well, if you want him, but see, they can't because they just paid enough. They just paid too much for Dak Prescott, and no one's going to take on that contract, right? So they're going to have to ask another team to pay half of that, I would assume. But stranger things have happened before. You never know what will happen here with the Dallas Cowboys. But I do know one thing is that they will continue to lose each and every season until Jerry Jones relinquishes ownership of the team or his son. Somebody figures out a way to get him out of there. And did they hire a real football? Because I brought this up to a friend last night, literally, and I'll move on this because I'm kind of segueing away from the Dak Prescott talk. But the Cowboys are so interesting. You have to just talk about them. They're like a science experiment. And this is an argument that's brought up several times. If a GM has lost and done nothing for the last 30-something plus years, would they have kept their job if they were on another franchise? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. And that's just the reality. Jerry Jones, in his mind, thinks he's doing a great job. I'll say this. They've found good players. They've done that in the past. But putting it all together, not just finding the players, you got to put it all together. They haven't gotten it right with the coaching, right? Because why? They only want certain types of guys. Okay. They only want certain types of coaches that are desperate. Right? Mike McCarthy was desperate to get back in the NFL. Why? As I don't believe anybody was knocking down his doors to be like, oh, we got to get Mike McCarthy to be our head coach. Right? They weren't. I don't think so. And I'm not saying he's a terrible coach, but he's one of those guys that's living off of a Super Bowl that he won damn near over a decade ago. Okay. And that's what the Cowboys are. They're a desperate team. So they throw the money out there. Even some of the fans, they'll be like, oh, well, we're the most valued team in the world. Okay, that's great. But you're not. That's Jerry Jones. And you know why? Because you're giving him your hard-earned money, excuse me. Okay? So that's not anything to be like proud of. Like, yeah, we're the most valued franchise. Okay. Yeah, you're not. He is. He's a billionaire. You're not. Now, if he was cutting you a check, okay. So be it. You can talk about that. But you're not. You're contributing toward that. Right? You're an enabler. So the only way you want change is you're going to have to stop going to these games. You're going to have to stop buying merchandise at the end of the day. Because that fool at the start, he don't care about you really. He's shown that to you. So guess what? That's why I'm at where I'm at. I don't care anymore. So it is what it is. So, all right. Moving right along here. Let's go straight into my power rankings for week 10 around the National Football League. Let's get it up here. All right, number 1, I got the Detroit Lions sitting at 7-1. They're coming off of another solid performance against the Green Bay Packers. They're undefeated on the road, and they're undefeated against the NFC North. Shout out to them. They're probably the most balanced team in the National Football League for sure. And even without Aiden Hutchinson, they're still able to generate pressure to get after the quarterback, and they should be getting some help here with Zadarius Smith that they just landed via a trade. He should kind of help out on the defensive line there. See, that's what good teams do, right? Zadarius Smith is not a big-time name, right? But he's a quality player, right? That's what a GM does. That's what a good GM does. Okay, Dallas. All right. Then you got, listen, they're still scoring points at a high percentage here. Despite not having Jameson Williams, they're still putting up tons of points, 76 points, I believe, in the last 2 games. And just finally, they're the most, I would say, one of the most versatile teams in football right now. They can beat you in multiple ways. And they can win on the road. They can win at home. They can win in the cold. They can win in the heat. It is what it is. My only concern with them, and I'll keep saying this, is down the stretch when we get into these bigger games in the playoffs. Will Dan Campbell make the right decision? Will he take the 3 points versus being gutsy, in the first quarter and going for it? Like, you know what I mean? So, but so far he's shown good promise. I mean, getting a team 7-1 is not an easy feat to do. So, shout out to him. It's just a small criticism that we've had, and we will live out for him until he can get that resurrected or righted when they get into the playoffs, because they're going to the playoffs. All right. Kansas City Chiefs still undefeated. Patrick Mahomes did show some really good resilience. I thought he was down when he rolled his ankle. Was it Monday night against Tampa Bay? I was like, oof. And he needed help getting up. I was like, wow. But he popped back up, got in there, and helped the force overtime against the Buccaneers. DeAndre Hopkins, big contributions this past Monday night with 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce and Kareem Hunt also getting into the mix too as well. A lot of people thought that Travis Kelce fell off. Now, from a physical, athletic standpoint, yes, he has, but he's still Mahomes' go-to at the end of the day, and he will find him. And he came up with some timely catches on Monday night to help secure that win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, one thing I'll say about the Chiefs, they are close game specialists. If the game is on the line, if you're a Chiefs fan, you're feeling fine, because you know what? You got the quarterback that can get it done. You got the head coach that can get it done. You got a defense that's clutch. Any close game, I'm not worried about them losing it, because they always find ways to do it, and they've done so time and time again. That's why they're 8-0. But my only concern with them right now too is this offense can be a little bit stagnant, and they have no big playability. I know Xavier Worthy was supposed to be the guy, hopefully kind of replacing Tyreek Hill a little bit, or taking that Tyreek Hill hole. He just hasn't really done that. I think we saw his speed, right? And you can't deny that. But overall, he's not the same player as Tyreek Hill. He's not strong. Like, Tyreek Hill is strong. When you look at him, he catches that ball. He's not only fast, but he's strong. Xavier Worthy is not that kid. He's kind of he's a frail-looking kid, honestly. Super fast, but not a guy that's going to really go up and make those type of plays like Tyreek Hill. So they're still looking for that. But adding a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, use him in the slot, maybe sometimes at your Z somewhere, can get you those tough catches. So, but I got Kansas City number 2. Baltimore Ravens, again, strong performance by Lamar Jackson. Coming off of a really great win on Thursday night against the Bengals, and Derrick Henry too. Now, he didn't have his typical Derrick Henry type of game, but he did come up with some really big runs and a crucial score late in that game to keep them in it. The only problem is that defense. They can be had, and when you play, certain really good teams, especially, they're going to see that, right? I don't know, the Chiefs aren't explosive, but they know how to play, right? So the defense is going to have to make plays, and when the Texans get healthy again, too, right? Nico Collins should return. They're going to run into one of these 2 teams in the AFC for sure. And they're going to have to be ready to stop them. Now, offensively, we know what they can do. So, but I have them at number 3. And then I got the Buffalo Bills. They're leading the AFC East right now. Josh Allen is playing at an MVP caliber type level. But my only concern for them is the defense, or 2 concerns: the defense in the run game, and then I think they play down to weaker opponents. Like, they struggled with the Dolphins last week, which in a game where I felt like, you gotta beat them, man. Like, they did win, but like, you gotta beat them. You're at home, Tua's still kind of getting comfortable. It's only his second game back, and that game to me was a little bit too much closer than what I would expected it to be. So they got to find that killer mentality, for my mind, in order to make this work. Then we got let's see, Washington Commanders at number 5. Jaden Daniels every week. The legend grows. This is a high-powered offense, but it's still a work in progress too. They're still figuring some things out. The only thing for them is that Their run defense is weak. You can run against them. And when you're going to play teams that run the football, like the Steelers, the Eagles are going to be coming in. That's on their schedule here, starting with the Steelers today. They want to run the football. That's going to be a problem. But they have the offense to score. But late in the game, we'll have to see what happens with them. Number 6, I got the Minnesota Vikings. They've kind of just, I don't know what's going on with them, man. Started off the season hot. They dropped 2 games. And then to me, they just didn't really look that impressive against the Colts, against a 41-year-old Joe Flacco. Like they won the game, but I felt like the Colts are still in that game. I don't know what the problem is there. The defense is still pretty solid. I will say that. But I don't know. I don't know if they've been reading the news clippings too much earlier in the season, but to me, they've kind of fallen off a little bit. They were looking impermeable earlier in the season, but now you're like, they can be beaten. Like, they're still a good football team. They're playing well, but they do have a tough upcoming road schedule on them. So we'll have to see how that shakes out for them. They're sitting at 6-2 right now, but we'll see what happens with them. Philadelphia Eagles climbing. They're 6-2 right now. Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, top form since that bye week, looking really good. They're getting balanced again, which is good. Getting healthy too. Got AJ Brown back, but Barkley and Hurts are contributing significantly to this offense. Jalen Hurts is kind of playing a lot better now than he once was early in the season, and you can see that. So we'll have to wait and see with them. But I believe AJ Brown is questionable today. I think they looked at his knee. It's not serious, but we'll see if he can go. If he can go today. If I was them, I would sit him today. You're playing the Cowboys. You should be okay with just Devontae Smith and whoever else you roll out there, honestly, if I'm not mistaken. Or just give the ball to Saquon Barkley. Like, there's no need to potentially risk his injury further, right? Rest him today. Let him get healthy because you're playing the Cowboys. It's going to be like a scrimmage anyway. So go ahead and rest him. All right, got Pittsburgh Steelers coming in at number 8. Strong defense. They're sitting atop of the AFC North right now, but they haven't played any divisional rivals yet, and that's going to change very soon. Russell Wilson has been a breath of fresh air, coming in, igniting this offense because they can throw the ball now. Justin Fields is very limited throwing the ball, just more of a runner. First read is not there. He's out. Russell Wilson is looking to make plays down the field with his arm, and you're seeing that between him and the connection that he's getting or establishing with George Pickens. Biggest concern for me is that they didn't really do anything in the trade world to bolster their depth at wide receiver. Outside of George Pickens, I don't really know who they have down the field like that. Their tight end, Freiermuth, okay, he's nice, but I'm not sure if he's more of a vertical tight end. They were more like an inline blocking tight end, so they didn't really do anything there. And then they have a tough schedule coming up. You got the Commanders today, you got the Ravens coming up soon here. So we're gonna see what they're about here, specifically. Especially when they play the Ravens, because that's always a tough one because that's a divisional game. And then let's see who we got here. Got the Green Bay Packers here. Solid team overall. They're going to make the playoffs, I think. But to me, they're just sloppy. They're inconsistent, especially early on in the game. And Jordan Love just cannot turn the ball over. He's been turning the ball over in these kind of crucial key games. He has 10 interceptions already in 7 games as a starting quarterback. Not good, especially if they're looking to be one of those top teams. Now, they still have some time to clean it up. They're not in a bad spot. They still have a good record. Like I said, I think, they could continue to keep focusing and being more consistent. They can be one of those better teams in the NFC, but they're going to have to clean it up for sure. And then finally, rounding up the top 10, the Atlanta Falcons are back in there. They're leading the NFC South right now, and their offense is looking more and more dynamic. Excuse me one second. Sorry about that. I had to cease. But their offense is looking good. Every week I get on here and I'm saying Kirk Cousins get more and more comfortable. Bijan Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, Tyler Algier, Drake London, like they got weapons. Ray McLeod every now and then can hit you, right? So this team's going to be scary, I would say, getting into the playoffs, but we'll see what happens when we see Kirk Cousins in the playoffs. It hasn't really been good, but overall, another thing too is their defense. Run defense, it's a little lacking. It's a little lacking, I will say. But we're going to find out a lot about this team because they got to go on the road in the next couple weeks and play some tough teams on the road. So there you have it. Those are the Week 10 power rankings. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. All right, well, here's a look at my previews and predictions. We're going to run through this fairly quickly. I'm just going to, because if you want to watch the rest of it, I did do this on my NFL matchups video, which is available right now on YouTube on the Grid Network. So we'll just run through this really fast. Obviously, Baltimore Ravens and Bengals, that took place already. Ravens won that game. We got Carolina and New York right now. I did pick the Giants to win. When I last checked, they were down 10-0 going into halftime. So I don't know what's going on with that. But Carolina showing some fight. We got Patriots and Bears. I like the Bears in this one. Honestly, they should take care of the Patriots. They don't really have an offense, and they can't protect, and the Bears defense is pretty good. You got the Bills and the Indianapolis Colts. Colts coming off of a loss last week to Minnesota on Sunday night. The Bills kind of narrowly escaping that game against the Miami Dolphins. This is a game that you need to take care of. I'm going to go with the Bills in this one. Minnesota Vikings taking on Jacksonville Jaguars. This is one of those trap games. Jacksonville's not a good team, I would say, but they always have a game late in the season where you're like, they should lose this game, but they end up winning because they're at home. So I'm going to take this. And to me, like I said just a couple minutes ago, Minnesota Vikings, they're not hitting the way they were hitting before, like as far as the way they're playing on the field. So I think this is one of those trapdoor games. I'm going to take Jacksonville. You got an AFC West matchup here between the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs. Last time we saw Denver, they got shellacked on the road against Baltimore. Not going to be facing quite the offense, but you're playing a really good defense too on the road in Arrowhead. I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to win that game. I got Atlanta Falcons and the NFC South versus taking on the New Orleans Saints. They got a new head coach interim. Dennis Allen is out. Give me the Falcons to win this game. I know a lot of times you get these new coaches in the middle of the season. There's some juice brought into the building, but I just don't think the Saints have enough, honestly. They may make it sporting, but in the end, I believe the Falcons should win this game. San Francisco taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers in a loss, man, showed me a lot of gut and grit. They almost came out winning that game. I like them at home. The 49ers to me are not all the way back. I know Christian McCaffrey may play today, but we don't know what he'll be like. So I like the Buccaneers. Even though their roster is depleted offensively, I still like them at home. All right. Washington Commanders at home taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a big matchup here. I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders to win this game. I believe Jaden Daniels will get the job done today against a very stingy Pittsburgh team. I don't really have any other reasons why. In my gut, I'm going with my gut this one. And I like the Commanders here. Then Tennessee Titans taking on the LA Chargers in LA. Chargers defense looking really, really good. Justin Herbert is throwing the ball a lot more than what we expected, right? With a Jim Harbaugh team, you would think they'd run the football tremendously more. But they're giving Justin Herbert the keys to the game. And I think they'll be able to get it done. Now, I believe Will Levis is getting the start today, so that's an easy one for me. He will lose this game literally with his arm play, with his play, and give the game to the Chargers. So I'm going to go with the Chargers here. Jets on the road in the desert taking on Arizona. Last time we saw the Jets, they had a really good win against the Texans. But guess what? You're on the road. You're going in the desert. You're playing a team that's feisty. Kyler Murray can make plays with his feet down the field. CJ Stroud did struggle against the Jets a little bit, but I like the Arizona Cardinals in this game at home. The defense is much improved, actually, too. And the Jets cannot protect Aaron Rodgers even still, right? Okay. Eagles and Cowboys, not much more to be said about this one. This one's going to be an easy one. No Dak. They're out. Eagles should win this game easily. We got the Lions for Sunday night taking on the Houston Texans. Nico Collins, I believe, has been activated. I thought I saw that. I could be wrong. If that's the case, that's a big push or a bonus for the Texans because they need him. They've been struggling a little bit on offense, especially CJ Stroud hasn't been able to get the ball, the way he wants to move the ball down the field. They need him back, and they need him back immediately. But I can't go against the Texans in this game. I'm going to go with the Lions. I have to go against the Texans. I'm going to go with the Lions in this one. I think it'll be a good game, but in the end, the Lions will figure it out and get the job. And then finally, we got Monday Night Football matchup. Miami Dolphins on the road in LA, taking on the other LA team in the Rams. A cross-country trip. Rams playing a much better football. Defensively, they're getting stronger. offensively, Matthew Stafford is leading this team. They're getting healthier, right? They got Cooper Kupp's back. Puka Nacua is back, I believe. I think he's going to play again today. I know he had some type of injury last week, but or got kicked out of the game. Excuse me, got kicked out. Sorry. So the offense is looking good there. Their coaching is good. I like the Rams in this one to get the dub there and stay in the hunt in the NFC West, right? So that's crazy that they're still in that. After all what they've been through, they're still in that. So, all right. Clutch picks of the week. We got Cardinals, Washington, Tampa Bay, and the Rams. There you have it. Clutch picks of the week. Make sure you guys get those bets in. You still got some time in there, so if you want to, go ahead and do so. So, and there you have it. There you go. That's the show. Half an hour right on the dot, a little bit more, a little couple seconds over, but appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys check me out next week, Sunday live here on YouTube. Also, be on the lookout for my NFL matchups video episode on the Grid Network YouTube channel. That'll drop around like Tuesday night. Probably like around 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you guys check that out as well. I talk about some takeaways from the previous week and then to get you guys ready for the upcoming week with my previews and predictions. They're a little bit more in depth there. So, all right. That's all I got, man. Enjoy your Sunday. Be safe, be responsible, eat good, and watch these games. Hope you guys have a good time. Until next week, this is your boy Ryan Flowers, a.k.a. Clutch Sports Talk. NFL Sunday Wake Up. Like I always say, never settle till the work is done. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.